Right. Well, Tim, it's great to meet you. I'm looking forward to getting into the book, your life as a lawyer, all these things that are who you are. So thank you for taking a minute out today.
It's my delight and great to be here with you, Joe.
Yes, sir. So let's begin our journey with this. 5 years ago, this pandemic was changing the whole world and everything that we do. Just
Oh,
crazy time. How did
crazy
you
time.
how did you get through that era, and how did it affect either writing this book or the way that you live life and do things today?
Well, it dramatically changed the legal profession here in Los Angeles. And of course, it had a great impact on everyone here and my family specifically. So you ended up spending a lot of time at home, obviously. And although I will tell you that I just couldn't help myself, I still came into the office every day. But the biggest change for us is exactly what we're doing here today. The practice became Zoom based. It became everything was online. My wife, for example, is a divorce lawyer. She goes to court all the time from the comfort of the office at home, at our own home, and that's the way they prefer it. In fact, very many of the judges and court staff prefer it because then fewer people are coming into the courts. It's not as crowded, and there's less chance for the uh, uh, illness to be transmitted, essentially. So that changed everything. People did not go to court. They went to their office or their homes and talked, argued, did all kinds of things. So depositions became online, just like this is. Uh, Meetings became online. Clients no longer came into the office. They all were met online. Everything was done over the internet. And after the pandemic was over, that stayed. That that did not change. In fact, in Tequila, the book that I wrote, there is a courtroom hearing that is all online.
Yeah.
And it's a type of Zoom type hearing, and that's very real. That's exactly what is happening these days. So that was the big change to me in the legal practice. And of course, the other thing of not connecting with people as much because you just were never physically with them. And that was a negative and a disappointment and has made for many of the folks in our profession less satisfied with it because part of the joy of work is to connect with people. And so that made a big change. In terms of tequila, I don't think that the pandemic had as much of an impact on the writing because what I did during that pandemic was I continued to come to my office. And probably I was the only person in the office,
Yeah.
which is the way it was supposed to be. Everyone was supposed to stay home and follow the directions, but as the founder and the guy who was responsible for everything, I couldn't help myself.
Yeah.
So that was how that went on. How was it for you there in Kansas City?
It was interesting. My son who's on the spectrum, loved school, loved baseball. So in March when all that went down, it was tumultuous. My stepdaughter is 13 going on 30, so they were around and I really ramped up doing more interviews with jazz musicians, and they tend to be real positive, kind of just a very positive community, driving around to parks and just seeing nature and getting out and doing that. It was just good to not feel confined and to get out and see the world.
Well, interestingly, one of the things that I've done for many years is be a coach of soccer, baseball, basketball I have four children.
Yeah.
And my youngest, I had been her coach. And then, of course, the pandemic happened and all of the games and everything stopped. But we were able to resume in AYSO, starting games after about, I don't know, 9 months of pandemic. And that was great because,
Yeah.
of course, we're all outside and, there were certain rules and restrictions, but the kids got a chance to run around and
Yeah.
I got a chance to run around.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a big deal. So let me ask you this. If I put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids at a schoolhouse, they're 12 years old and they want to know about your career, it's career day, and they ask you, what do you do for a living? How do you answer those children?
If it's 12 years old, what I would say to children is, well, I try to help people who have problems. And the problems that I get into are when people disagree. And sometimes when people disagree, they get a little hot-headed, and it is impossible for them to resolve their issues. They're angry, they're upset, and so they start a process which we call a lawsuit. And the lawsuit is something where the two lawyers, and I'm one of the two lawyers, help the parties try to figure out the result. And if we can't figure it out, we usually have to go to a judge and ask that person to figure out how to solve the argument or the dispute. But I would also say the better route, and what we usually do successfully, is we figure out a resolution before we have to go to that judge. Sometimes you just have to go to the judge, but usually not. And that's probably how I'd put it
Yeah.
on career day. I'd also say it's fun, it's interesting. You get to meet a lot of people, you get to talk about a lot of things. And I encourage anyone who likes to analyze situations and be helpful to people, think about law school.
So when you were a kid, what was your dream job? What did you want to grow up and become?
Well, of course, it changes as you got older. When I finally got to college, I was thinking about medical school.
Yeah.
And I had been thinking about medical school and law school. Those were my two thoughts. I wanted to try to do something meaningful. When I started college, I was an EMT. I took the course, and I worked in tents where there were events, where there was a medical situation. And I even was on for a short time the Chicago Fire Department scuba team, believe it or not, because
Oh,
that's uh, uh, an area where there are problems along Lake Michigan. And ultimately decided that medicine was not for me, having worked in some emergency rooms, et cetera, and ended up going the direction that I did, which was law school, where I thought I could be a trial lawyer and talk.
yeah.
And so that's what I've done for 45 years now, is talk.
So take me back to your beginnings. Are you from Chicago?
Originally Chicago,
Okay.
then I went to high school in Pennsylvania, and
Okay.
then I went to college and law school in Boston, and then I flipped out to Los Angeles, where I've been ever since.
So in those early years, what were the seeds that were planted that made you get into law, that made you obviously be a high achiever to get into medicine and eventually write a book? I mean, how did that happen?
Well, my first confession is my dad was a lawyer in Chicago. So I was exposed early on as a kid. And I love my dad, I miss him. And so it's not surprising, I did idolize him, that I would be interested in what he did. He was a trial lawyer in Chicago. So that was a big influence on me, and my own father, who was successful and was a powerful guy. Uh, then, of course, as I suggested to you, I discarded medicine, but I thought that it would be an intellectual exercise, and I wanted my mind to be stimulated. So I thought that law would be the right place to go. I went to law school and was clerking out here in Los Angeles, and I fell in love with a beautiful girl. So that's why I came out to LA. That's how I selected Los Angeles. Had less to do with my practice or my future than my love affair. That's what happens. Of course, then that wasn't the lady that I ended up with, but it brought me here to LA. And it was a wonderful place to practice law years ago. We had a great time enjoying the practice, meeting people, and doing things. And it was a wonderful career. I've had a great time with it. Then, of course, I talked about writing a book. I wanted to write fiction. I had started writing fiction in high school and published my first short story all the way back then. But the thing about any profession, whether it's yours or mine, if you want to be any good at it, you just have to put in the time.
Yeah.
And when I started practicing law, I realized I had to devote myself to that in order to be any good. So I put aside the idea of writing fiction, which I had started doing, and then went on and gave myself fully to the profession. But in the back of my mind, I said, I got to get back to this someday.
Yeah.
Well, not only did the law happen, children happen, marriage happened, sports happened, lots of things happen, and you devote your time and effort to that.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? When you become an empty nester and all the kids are gone, and you have the time, and my wife's a lawyer, she practices, so she's busy. Then suddenly I found I had some extra time that I could finally get back to this dream of mine, which was to write a book. And so I came to it and wrote the book. It took about a year or so to do it. And I will say it was harder than I thought it would ever be.
Yeah.
Uh, so many things that you do in life, you don't realize how hard they're going to be until you start doing them. And then you
Yeah.
go, why am I doing this? This is so tough.
Yeah.
This was tough to do, but once I started, I soldiered on and had to get it done. And then I found when I wrote it, I'd climbed that mountain. I read the book and I thought, geez, this is pretty good. This is I was a little surprised myself. And so I started showing it to some people and they said, oh my gosh, this is great.
Yeah.
Like, and so we went through the process of publication. Been a year. I finished it over a year ago, but it's been a year to get it out. And finally, it's going to be available to the public in just on October 14th, about 10 days away. So it's exciting.
That is exciting. I actually published my first volume. I've been writing poetry my whole life, and I published it last year on the 28th. And when that box of books came in, when you actually see the sweat and the tear, everything that went into it, you hold it in your hand. It's wonderful, you know.
Well, it's a great feeling to realize that you achieved something,
Yeah.
and then you have a physical thing, and that physical thing is a book that you can look at and say, "Oh, I still am surprised when I look at it. I say, I did this."
Yeah.
Um, and so I decided to write another book. So that's in process. Actually, the first draft is now done. So
Wow.
I'm hoping to get that one out next year too. So
That's
we'll see.
wonderful. So let me ask you this. Who's been a hero? Who's been kind of an inspirational force for you in everything that you've done in your life?
Well, I already told you how much I idolized my own father.
Yeah.
So he was certainly a hero. And as a lawyer, you become very cynical. And I have been very cynical because I've represented people of all types and been involved in all kinds of matters. So you can't look at, once you've been involved in with politicians, you become pretty cynical about politicians. Those are our leaders. You can look back at a George Washington or Abe Lincoln. You didn't know them, so they were politicians, but you still can idolize them. But when you are dealing in today's world, those are not people I idolize. I would say that sometimes what I idolize, and I will be honest and tell you, there's a classmate of mine who inspired me. And he's a brilliant guy. He's a physicist, and he became the president of one of our colleges here in Los Angeles. So he's a very accomplished guy. And I was always inspired by him. So some of the classmates that I had, some of the people who accomplished a lot, um, were inspiring to me. And I think that's exciting because it's not some person who's an idol or a celebrity. It's someone that you know
Yeah.
and that you've seen, and they have good ethics, they achieve great things, and they work hard, they're genuine, and that's exciting to me. And
Yeah.
so that's why I mentioned classmates, and I contrasted that with, a politician who uh, let's face it, they say a lot of things just to get elected, and
Absolutely.
that's the way of it.
That's it. The beauty of being an author is that you're in a position now of having someone pick up your book and it becomes a seismic literary moment in their lives. They'll never forget it. The story will sway them. Who was that for you? What book, what author did that for you in your life?
Well, I have a number of favorite authors. So this could be a long list. I mean, initially, when I was young, Hemingway, I mean, as an example, was somebody that I read and I read all of, and I loved his writing. I loved what he did. I also loved, I'm going to tell you, Huckleberry Finn. What I called was a brilliant American novel. um, I read all of the Game of Thrones books, and I thought those were fascinating books, and had an impact on the way I thought about writing. So, and a kid, I read J.R.R. Tolkien, and I read all of The Hobbit and The Lord of Rings. These were wonderful books and stimulated me quite a bit. Um, these are examples of books that I think it'd be great for everyone to read, and will expand your mind and your heart.
So let me ask you this. At the end of the day, what is it that's gotten you up every day to do this work, to do this, to be a lawyer, to be a writer, to do all of this, and to take care of your soul, to take care of your family? What's that energy for you every day?
I would hate to say it that some of it's DNA, that is just some people are just prepared to work hard and get up and want to do something. I get out of bed and I want to get going. I want to move. I've always wanted to move. I've always wanted to try new things. So it comes from within, I suppose, and it's always come from within. Uh, there's no reason that I expect to do a change in the world. I'd love to impact things in a positive way, but I'm not motivated in the sense that I think, oh, let's change the world. I think we can help the world with little things. Maybe my book will help the world in a little way, but I'm motivated just because I get that feeling every morning when I wake up and I want to do stuff. It's a lot more fun to do stuff than to sit around and procrastinate.
Yeah.
So, which is something I've certainly said to my kids. They'll tell you for many years, let's go. What are we going to do today? And so that's been my habit ever since, and it's allowed me to be pretty productive, not just in my career, but in the rest of my life, because I've done a lot of other things besides writing books. I've certainly published many legal articles. I've sat on the bench. I've been an arbitrator, a mediator. As I told you, I've been a coach, which was maybe the most fun thing that I ever did. And I did that for years and years with four different children. So I think that people sometimes are just programmed to be active and productive, and that would be me.
How fun is it to have people be like, I had no idea you were a writer. I had no idea that this was in you. Is that a fun thing to feel?
It's a lot of fun. I will acknowledge that. I mean, I've had friends. I had a friend call me yesterday. I've known him forever, and you give him a book, and I gave him one of the advanced copies, and they finally get around to reading it, and he calls me. He says, "I couldn't put it down." I got the same note from another of my dear friends who again felt obligated because he had to read it because it's my book. And then he said, I read it faster than I've read any book in years. It goes, I tried to write a book that reads fast.
Yeah.
To me, I want you to not get bogged down with long chapters. I make short chapters. I try to keep action going. I believe in plot and action and movement. And I want it to be kind of stimulating and fun. There are lessons in there, embedded. There are a few, shall we say, moral points. But I believe that reading should be fun. I find it fun.
Yeah.
And I'm sad that I see that much of the youngest generation coming up don't get the chance to really read. They're so fast looking at their phones and everything is a soundbite, and nobody reads books anymore, I'm told. And I think that's terrible because it's fun. And especially if you're going on a vacation on a beach, and I hope someone takes my book on a beach and reads it there and enjoys the time because it's about the fun. You should enjoy life. And I want my book to help people enjoy life. I also have the morality in it, of course. I believe there are good guys and bad guys in art.
Yeah.
In life, there's ambiguity, shades of gray. There's no clarity a lot of the time. But I think when I write a book, I want you to know who the good guy is
Yeah.
and like that good guy or good girl or good woman. And I want you to know who the bad guy is. And I want you to hate that bad guy and not like what he or she does and and feel it and feel it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hoping will happen.
So after this long road of being in law, as you mentioned, cynicism and getting around characters that just show the dark side of humanity, do you remain hopeful?
Well, I guess the hopefulness is part of what is in the book.
Yeah.
I try to be hopeful. It's natural for me to assume the best, to start by assuming the best. But of course, my career has certainly shown me a lot of the worst. So I go into every situation, meet every person, giving them initially the benefit of the doubt. I hope they're a good person. I hope they're doing the right things. I hope they're honest. I hope they're hardworking. I hope they care about others and are kind. And if I give them the benefit, and then it's for for them to lose that that benefit of the doubt, and I pay attention. And I know that very often I'm disappointed with some things, but I also think that we're all fallible. We all make mistakes. We all have flaws. So you have to give people sometimes a break, another chance. Recognized context might make things difficult. My wife is a divorce lawyer, and she deals with people in terrible pain, in terrible trauma. And nobody's going to act great when they're in that situation. And so you have to look at people in context and hopefully give them a break and hopefully they deserve that break.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Of everything that you've accomplished and done in your life and evolved to at this point, what are you ultimately the proudest of?
I'm proudest of being a father. I mean, there's no question that that's an easy call. I hope I did a decent job. I think it was my most important job in my life. That's true. So when we get past parenthood, which is a whole complicated topic, then I have to say I started a firm, and the firm has flourished. Back in 1992 is when I started my own law firm, and still going. And we've employed plenty of people, helped plenty of people over the years. We've always been conservative in the way we've approached things, and therefore we have ridden the waves of challenge over years, as many have not. So, in terms of proud, I probably am proud of that success. I'm pretty proud of this book, though. I
Yeah.
think it's pretty fun, and I hope it is enjoyed by people. But I think that one of the things that you asked about motivation, what can you do and leave that's lasting in your life? And one of the things you can do is if you produce art, and art can last and be meaningful for long after you leave the world. So I think that's a real important positive, and I'm kind of proud of the fact that I did that. I have to tell you that another motivation is I'm not just a parent, I'm a grandparent.
Yep.
And and that's fun, by the way. Nothing better than being a
What
grandparent.
I hear all the time.
Uh, and when you realize that you'd like that grandkid someday to get to know me a little bit, but
Yep.
I might not be here at that time, I mean, especially the stuff that I write. I don't want those kids reading my stuff because it's
Right.
a little bit racy,
Yeah.
a little too adult for them.
Yeah.
That's very frank. I mean, I did not hold back on some of the sexuality issues, et cetera, in the books. I think that adults can read that stuff. You certainly see it on television plenty.
Yeah.
And so I don't want them to read it for until they're well into their 20s. But I'd like my grandkids to know that, oh, their grandpa did something.
Yep.
And so there's a motivation for writing for me.
I love it. So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, clients, everyone that works at the firm, everyone that's going to get your book, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Well, I know what I hope I am. I hope I'm a good boss or a friendly boss. You know, if you have a boss, and almost all of us have bosses or have had bosses, let's face it, you're always going to dislike your boss sometimes, even the best one. And it may not even be the boss's fault. It's just the nature of the dynamics. He or she is telling you to do something and it's not convenient or something that you don't want to do and you get annoyed. I always say that if my employees have a dream and and there's a bad person in it, it may be the boss, it may be me. But I'm hoping that that's not how they feel because I try to treat everyone really with a great degree of respect and a recognition. Everyone's important in my firm, and everyone who works here has always been treated as well as we could treat people. In terms of my clients, I think I'm very well respected and liked. I think I do have a reputation amongst my opponents as being a bit tough, but that's not a bad reputation for a lawyer.
Yeah,
So I'm okay with that.
I love it.
And I hope my family thinks of me as genuinely devoted to my family.
Yeah,
Part of Tequila is about a family. I mean, it's a family saga. And one of the themes of Tequila is family loyalty and the importance of family loyalty. And I consider that important too. I'm loyal to my family, and I hope they understand that and recognize that even though, in families, there's always issues. There's no family without issues. Uh, that my family recognizes how much I love them and I try to support them. You know, Tequila starts with a quote from the Bible. It is the quote about Cain and Abel. And if you think about that as one of the first families, at least theoretically, and Cain and Abel, of course, was the story of a fight between two brothers where Cain killed Abel. So family issues have been around
yeah,
ever since
yeah,
the very beginning of time.
for sure, for sure. So Tequila is the new book. It's out October 14th. If anyone wants to grab a copy, they want to reach out, any of the other good work in your world, where's the best place to go?
Well, it is available on Amazon. You can pre-order it right now, and you have to go into the books area and put in Tequila or Tim Reuben. You can also go to timreuben.com. That has not just an easy way to order the book, but it's got a lot of other material, some interviews and other uh, media issues and some background about me if you're interested. So you can just go to timreuben.com and that will also have something you can click and order the book. And that is through Amazon as well.
Okay, I will. Yeah, I'm
I
sorry.
was going to say, I'm hoping to get the audio version out. I've got it's on hardback. It's also, you can get it on your Kindle. Um, but the audio version should be coming out. Maybe it'll be out by October 14th as well.
Okay, I love it. Absolutely love it. Tim, what a joy. Thank you, sir. Best of luck on the release.
It was a pleasure to meet you, Joe. Thanks for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.